We are back. This is Radio K, back with another interview with
Genesis Owusu.
Genesis. Thank you so much for taking the time for being here today. As we were pulling up, we kind of got to hear a little bit of the sound check going on, and obviously we're hearing songs from Smiling with No Teeth, and we approached and it passed the 2-year anniversary of Smiling with No Teeth coming out. How's it been sitting with this album for 2 years now?
That's crazy. It doesn't feel like it at all. It feels like, I don't know what it feels like. It feels like, yeah, like I was saying, time is a construct, man.
Right,
I'm just
right.
like, it still feels like my baby. It feels timeless to me. Yeah, 2 years is crazy. Man, I didn't even clock that. Yeah, it's hard.
And so it feels still fresh, and it feels fun to perform still, and you're having a good time with it?
Yeah, forever. It's timeless. It will be forever. And yeah, I'm glad that's the case.
And you kind of mentioned, I think, in an interview with Anthony Fantano, that the positive reaction to this album almost sparked kind of this daunting feeling. Could you talk about that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really remember what was going through my head at that time,
Sure.
but I know at this point, it's definitely I feel like that album was almost made in a vacuum. I was just in my bedroom a lot of the time.
Yeah.
There was no eyes on me or expectations for it.
Right.
It was kind of just what was spewing out of my mind and body. But now it's now I've got expectations, now I've got eyes on me, now I've got people waiting to see and hear what's next. So yeah, it's definitely been a big change of environment and vibe in that sense.
Yeah, and you talked about kind of creating it on your own or within that sardine can of you guys performing the album with the band, and now it's come out, and you've kind of gone through, I think you mentioned too, this talking stage with fans and kind of testing the waters with new fans. How has that been, and have there been any interesting fan interactions?
Oh yeah. Have you seen Atlanta?
Yes.
I feel like I get a lot of Atlanta moments, just traveling the world. Obviously, being mainly raised in Australia and this album just taking me across the world. I feel like in regards to the talking stage, I feel like I'm just a very open and straight to the point lover, man. You get what you get out the gate.
Yep.
I'm not really the the swooner, the Riz Lord. I just kind of say what I say. If you like it, you like it. If you don't, we can keep it pushing. Yeah.
As someone who would definitely fall in the category of at least not being the Riz Lord, I appreciate that, and just leaving it all on the table and just letting people kind of ruminate with it. Yeah. Any experiences, specifically that made you be this was an Atlanta moment, or just you walked away being they just said that to me, or any random they wanted to lock in my hair?
There was there was a few. There's two that spring to mind. There was this one where I played the show, and I was just hanging in the venue after the show, and this kid was waiting for me, and I went to talk to him, and he's like, "Man, I love you so much. Never stop doing what you're doing." I'm like, "Yeah, thanks, man." He's like, "Don't go out like Juice WRLD." It's I can't lose another one. I'm like, yo, what? It's just really, he's like, "Please, man, don't go out like Juice WRLD." I'm like, alright, cool, for sure.
I'll try not to.
There was another moment where it was a similar thing. I performed at a festival, and I went to the crowd to watch some of the other acts, and this lady came up to me, and she's like, "Wow, I really loved your set, blah, blah, blah." And she stuck her hand out to I assumed it was to shake my hand, so I went to shake her hand, and then she started making me ballroom dancer for 5 minutes, and then she stopped and looked at my hand, and she's like, "Whoa, you're gonna have 2 children, but one of them's gonna die." I'm like, bro, man, it was very Atlanta.
Very what an ominous thing in both interactions, kind of involving seeing into the future, or trying to stop the future. That's very interesting, and I wouldn't even know what I would do in this situation. Are you just kind of like, yeah, thanks for listening to my music?
Just keep rocking.
See, yep.
Just keep rocking.
Fair enough. And I know you've been big about making art and music for yourself first and foremost, but having said that, you've had accolades that have come. You kind of cleaned out at the 2021 ARIA Awards, it felt like, and then I want to make sure I have this right, but you won the 2023 Act Young Australian of the Year Award.
Yeah.
Tell me about that and like the reaction to that, the process of that.
Yeah, it's very surreal. It's like that Young Australian of the Year Award, especially. It's like the music thing is one thing, you know, like people liking your music, but you know, I went to that, like the ceremony of that Young Australian of the Year Award, and I was next to like astrophysicists and like people who like like sent rockets into space and like just done all this other crazy stuff, so to even be like considered in that realm of people just from some stuff that I wrote in my bedroom, it's a very surreal experience, and I don't really have the words to kind of describe it, but a lot of the time I don't really feel like it's necessary to describe it at the same time, just kind of living in it and appreciating it as it comes.
Absolutely. So with that, did it come clearly some appreciation? Did it cross your mind of any sort of validation? Be like, the validation in my art and art overall has a place within these also really important fields.
Yeah, 100%. It's really awesome to know that this thing that I'm making is actually having like a deep impact in a lot of people's lives. At the same time, it's like the validation is almost more daunting than like the hate would be. It's like I feel like there's a, like, I don't know, I don't a lot of the people that I exist in like their minds or their hearts like haven't met me as a person, so I feel like there's like a parasocial relationship that I'm like now wondering if I have to act a certain way to uphold, or like it's a weird, interesting place to be in, so I'm still kind of navigating all of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And how do you go about navigating that? Because I feel like even on a day-to-day as just a person, perceptions are hard. Like, people don't fully know you a lot of the time, and especially when you're getting acclaim and people see your art or maybe you on social media, but they don't actually know you. How do you grapple with that? Is it just kind of coming with time?
Yeah, I mean, all I can do is just keep being as authentic to myself as possible. And hopefully that perception becomes more true to what the actual person is as well. But yeah, just keeping on.
Absolutely. And I think with your authenticity specifically, I've just been able to see, and what's really cool is just genuine world building, which I know you're a very big fan of, and just kind of the idea of like, there was a well orchestrated and very intentional approach to Smiling with No Teeth, whether it was the looks of it, the feel of it, the sound of it, the themes of it. As we maybe approach, like we said, a 2-year mark, and as we approach maybe a new universe, what does that start to look like? I feel like I've already seen some different visuals, some different looks from you that kind of are different from that latest project. What universe are we stepping into right now?
Stepping into the world of the roach. Stepping into a vast, sometimes oppressive, daunting, looming world, as people or figures that may be minuscule by comparison, but at the same time are still living to tell the story, still rushing through all the landslides and earthquakes unscathed. The world of the roach.
The World of the Roach. I'm very excited to see what that holds, and I think you've said with Smiling with No Teeth, Prince was a big inspiration sonically. Are there any inspirations sonically that have really caught your ear and that we could maybe see in future music coming out?
This kind of world I've been building, Smiling with No Teeth was very influenced outside sonically, but this one is a lot more literary. Like I haven't been listening to that much music like at all since Smiling with No Teeth.
Oh wow.
Like
Okay.
it's mostly been influenced by like stories like Metamorphosis by like Franz Kafka, like absurdist like theater and stuff like that.
Yeah, and how does that differ, like, from the musical inspirations? Is it just like, okay, I approach it more from the lyrical sense and I'm getting a different idea that way? How do they differ?
It's a lot less literal. Like obviously I tried not to make my influences too literal in the first place, but now this is more so like I read a text and imagine how that would sound rather than like
Interesting.
literally hearing a sound that I like and like making it my own. Now I have to like transpose it into another kind of medium.
That's very interesting, and it's almost like synesthesia, but with words, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Very cool.
And it's very lyric and literature focused. It's definitely a story and a world in its own that's connected but still very separate to like the world that we actually exist in. It's taking the world building to a new level, I think.
Very cool. And I see at least one consistency within both worlds is red. Tell me why red and why that has kind of trickled into a lot of your art forms.
I think it's just my color.
Yeah.
I think it's just my color, man. I think it's like, I don't know. I feel like I don't know if anyone ever asked Prince why purple, and I don't know what his answer would have been. So I don't really know what my answer really is. I feel like it's just represents me.
Very enough said, right? And so kind of before the Roach had come, before Smiling with No Teeth had come, tell me about one of the earlier stages of your world building experiences, whether it came with the Ansa Brothers or with the first song Can't Knock Me Down, whatever it had been. What was world building for you back then?
Nardwuar shit right there. I feel like one of the biggest instances I think was like my first EP, Car Drive EP, which is kind of like my first stab at a thematic project, where it tried not to be too overbearing with the theme, but also make the music good. But that was really interesting because it came to me in a dream. I had a dream where I was in the back of a car listening to like an iPod Classic, and it was nighttime, and there was someone sitting next to me, someone sitting in front of me, and someone driving a car, and we were driving on this long trip, and I think the person driving the car was the devil, and we were driving to the destination was like fame. And then I woke up, and then I made like the EP kind of based on that dream.
Okay. And was that like, I wake up and I'm writing everything I remember, because did it not feel like a coincidence that you had that dream?
I didn't actually write anything down.
Oh, okay.
It was a dream that stuck with me. And like to this day, like I haven't actually thought of that dream for a long time, but I had that dream in like 2014, 2015, and it just stuck with me. And it stuck with me so much that when I was writing the music, the next day, the next week, the next month, I was remembering that dream. And that was like the first case of like, world building, I suppose. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, I just appreciate you taking the time I know you had mentioned being jet lagged and you're going to be performing here tonight, just taking the time to sit down with us. I have one last question to leave off with, and I selfishly want to ask this because I am a younger sibling as well, and I think you had talked about your brother had pursued music before you had ever. And I think for a while there, you were like, that's what my older brother's doing. I don't want to fall in his shadows. Walk me through if you would have stuck to being stubborn and not entered that realm, where do you think you would be currently? Or is it even hard to imagine that route, you know?
Yeah, it's really hard to imagine, but I feel like I'd be doing some weird shit. I'd just be in like a warehouse somewhere. My clothes would be all ripped up, but there would be like, I'd be painting like murals on like the warehouse walls or something like that. Like, I don't know. I feel like I'd be on like some Clark Kent Superman type thing where like that's half my time, and then like the other half of my time I'm just like super inconspicuously like working in like an office cubicle or something like that. Yeah, I think that would be my life.
Yeah. So still orchestrating something in the mix. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like that part of me is like untamable. And it's like that kind of just has to happen. Yeah.
Well, thank you again. Anything you would like to leave us off with, any parting words, anything you would like to add that's on your radar that you would like to get out there, the floor is yours.
Enjoy your life. The world is absurd and chaotic, but it's worth living. There are very beautiful things in the world, and there's always something to be appreciated.
Genesis Owusu, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
Awesome.